We were talking about global warming because you're in town for a global warming conference. Yeah. And you have said that global warming, you believe, is a way to kill democracy. Mm-hmm. How do you mean?
Well, I'm afraid that there will be, again, a society organized, mastermind, regulated, controlled from above, and by the anointed, by the people who know better than the rest of us what to do. And I'm afraid that this is something that we went through in the past, and that bothers me.
Are you struck by? I was talking to somebody earlier today that. This is becoming a religion. That it is, it's in religion in the Dark Ages, you couldn't ask questions because that was the devil that made you ask those questions. Now, if you ask questions, that's big oil that is making you ask that question.
Well, I would say it's a quasi-religion, or better to say this is an ideology, and it's an alternative ideology, because now everyone, the people on the left, understood that the old-fashioned socialism is over, communism is over, so they have been searching for new isms. Yeah. And in this respect, global alarmism is a very good idea.
This sounds crazy, and look, I'm a clown, basically. I'm a self-educated man, and I try to figure things out myself. And help me out on this. I was thinking this summer, I can't imagine if America fell overnight, like the Soviet Union fell, and they started pulling down the statues of Thomas Jefferson on the Mall in Washington, that there wouldn't be any resistance to it, that there wouldn't be a good core of Americans that would resist this. I don't think communism really ever went away. They regrouped and renamed and just reformed. Isn't the old Soviet Union, in a way, coming back?
Well, I would say that in our countries, in the former communist countries, the past is much more over than in some other countries who didn't go through the same experiment. So this is discredited very much in our part of the world, much more than in Western Europe and the United States of America. But therefore, the ideology has shifted to some other field.
But Russia, with Putin, does he keep you awake at night? Does the threat that growing power in Russia with Putin?
That's a good question, because I will answer in a way that you will be probably surprised, because I have to put it into the right historical perspective. So what was making me awake during the night was Mr. Brezhnev and the Soviet regime. So even to compare Brezhnev and Putin is in this respect really impossible, and to make such a comparison and to somehow assume that this is not a qualitative difference but just a quantitative marginal change, as it is sometimes done here, is, in my understanding, a tremendous mistake.
I understand that, but Putin, are you saying that Putin isn't on this same kind of totalitarian road where it is? I mean, he's dropping missiles. Oops, I dropped a missile on Georgia. I mean, was that a mistake, or?
Well, I don't know about exactly dropping missile on Georgia. That would be a partial issue. But nevertheless, the political system in Russia, the presidential elections in Russia are, of course, totally different presidential elections than in the United States of America or Czech Republic. Both, I would say. So Russia is in a different place. Nevertheless, if you look at Russia's history, if you look at the situation in the countries around, I mean, in Asia, well, I wouldn't say that Russia is so different, and as compared to the past, it's definitely much better.
Because I have read about you for quite some time, and honestly, in many ways, I don't know if you're a fan of our founding fathers, but in many ways, you say the same kinds of things in many ways. I've said on the air in the last year or so that if you read your words, you are closer to a founding father of our country sometimes than some of the people who are running for president here. Why the... Is it the experience of what you guys went through?
I think this is the experience, because I spent, let's say, the first 48 years of my life in communism, and it influences your thinking, and you are dreaming all the time about different political regime and political and social system, and we try to follow all the positive things in America, in American history. We try to read books. I studied American economic science, not Marxist or socialist.
And it's weird because now we're studying Marxism, but
no one. I was joking in the early 80s in Czechoslovakia when someone asked me about whether the people really do believe in communism and Marxism, and I provoked them 25 years ago. Well, I'm sure that there are more true Marxists at the University of California in Berkeley than in the whole communist Czechoslovakia. So I think we try to understand it, and so for us the real revolution was the American Revolution more than 200 years ago, not the French Revolution.
The people here will tell you that, well, communism or Marxism works, socialism works, it's just never been done right. And I can't for the life of me. It has been tried and tried and tried and tried, and it always fails, and it always ends in bloodshed. Does it work? You're an economist. Can it ever work?
Absolutely not. And this is quite clear. But the problem is that the argumentation you used is very similar to the argumentation used in the communist era. The political leaders, they were saying, of course, it's not perfect, and the people will be better in the future, and the system is okay, just the people are wrong. This is the same argumentation, and we went crazy when listening to such terms, and we said, no, the people are not the problem. The system is totally rot and totally wrong.
We as a country right now, and as a guy who broadcasts on radio and television every day, I guess sometimes I get down because there's just so much stuff. There's just so much going on that it's just, we're going in the wrong direction. Give me something great. Give me something that you look across the water or the world and say, the one thing America really has is that's good. What is it?
Well, I am a pragmatist, and I look at. I know that you can compare either reality with reality, or model with model, or model with reality. But to compare model and reality of a different system is basically wrong. So, when I look at the United States of America, it is the country with much more freedom than in any other part of the world. So for us, the U.S. is the guarantor of freedom, and in this respect, we are very, very glad that the country exists, and based on such ideas as it is.
Wow, we are very glad that you exist, and you're the president of the Czech Republic, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.